you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers.
I want the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
How are we doing all across this great land of ours and around the world? It's that time, of course. It's time for the Conservative Syndicate, coming to you live right now, coast to coast, nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated. We're glad to be with you today. I'm your host, John Matthews, man, prophet of the airways, on a mission from God. And that mission is to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We do that at the Conservative Syndicate by espousing what we refer to as the conservative gospel and exposing the lameness of the leftist agenda. Glad you're with us tonight, and I'll be flying solo tonight. Joe Hakos, my co-host and partner in crime from Dreyer Report, is attending an event tonight out there in the Panhandle out in Florida, and he has been, believe it or not, Joe was nominated as one of the candidates for Civilian Employee of the Year out there where he works. He works, deals with the Air Force, with those, what do you call them, the high altitude platforms, airplanes and stuff like that. He does computer work for them, and he was nominated as one of the Civilian Employees of the Year. So there are a few people in public sector that actually do their job. But so we wish Joe well and hope that he gets the recognition that is due him for the work that he does in helping to protect and preserve this country. So I'm going to be with you tonight. And, of course, at the bottom of this hour, we'll be on the Robert Cardoso show. We'll be checking in with Bob out there at the Robert Cardoso live show. So we'll have an exchange with Bob. I'm sure Bob's going to want to talk about the debate last night, which I'm going to spend some time talking about today. Very revealing debate in several aspects of it. I'm not personally not real thrilled with the performance by Ted Cruz last night. I think he had a few high spots, but he's showing a tendency to, the way I look at it, not take advantage of statements that are thrown at him, opportunity to take things and turn it around and throw it back in the face of the accuser, in this case, the Fox moderators, which once again did a very good job of accusing and trying to ignite and incite inner candidate spats between them. Of course, I did suspect Cruz would be in the crosshairs because without Trump there, of course, they're going to go after the next candidate that least represents what those at Fox News want, and that's a typical rhino Republican operative, somebody like a John Kasich or a Jeb Bush, which I also noted last night. John Kasich got some pretty softball questions. And Jeb Bush, of course, I'm beginning to feel sorry for Jeb Bush. I don't know who told this guy that he should run for president, but he should have probably listened to his mother's initial advice, and that was no more Bushes, because the guy's just a sham, I mean, he's like, I don't know. It might just be my bias, but it just seemed like he was constantly grasping for something to say in a way that would show that he's, right there. He's high power and he's got it all together. But I didn't see that at all. But we'll talk about a little bit more about that. If I had to, I'll just say this before I move on here. But if I had to actually pick a winner last night in the debate, believe it or not, I'd probably pick Rand Paul. Rand Paul actually was very good at taking whatever came his way and turning it around and throwing it back into the face of his opponents and the moderators. And Rand Paul did an excellent job last night fending for himself. So I'll give him that. I don't agree with some of the things Rand Paul believes in. I think he's an honorable man. I think he's a good man. I think he's an honest man. I have ideological differences with him. But he handled himself rather well last night. So I'm going to commend him for that. And we'll talk about that. But along with that, again, another release today by the State Department. 22 more emails have been determined to have been classified top secret that went through actually 7 email chains. That means 7 other people viewed these emails on or through Hillary Clinton's private email server. And, of course, her campaign is up in arms once again, trying to play off the idea that, well, since they weren't marked classified, then they weren't classified. And we've done about as good a job as anybody explaining that classified information is not determined by its markings, it's determined by its content. And so we will revisit that briefly as we examine what the latest is on the Hillary Clinton email fiasco and what this may lead to in terms of what the Democrats have to do if they really have to go into DEFCON 5 damage control. So we'll talk about that. And let's see what else I got up here on I think that's pretty much it for today. But because I have a lot to talk about in terms of the debate, and not so much the content of the debate, although there is some of that I want to address, but just the overall effect of how this debate went down last night and how this just may play out in this Iowa caucus and I think 3 others that will be coming up in February. I believe it's Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and then Nevada. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So other than that, let's see. What else? Just scan through my notes here and see if I got anything else I really want to touch on today that's imperative. And looking down here, let's see here. Oh, there's enough. Oh, yeah, the veterans' response to Trump. Trump was out there raising money for the veterans. This is one of the indicators. There's a couple of indicators that I picked up on yesterday, and we were speculating yesterday on the show how we would measure whether Trump's absence would be a defining moment in the debate process, or at least in the Republican primary, and what it really says in terms of the voters. And I ran across some stuff here that just may, if you're a Trump supporter, you probably won't like it. If you're supporting anybody else, you'll probably be nodding your head going, yeah, that's what we thought too. So we'll see how this all works out. Right now it's time for our first break. We'll go to our break. We'll come back and we'll jump into today's festivities. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate because we got a lot for you today. We'll be right back. You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was...
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Time offer, 24-month commitment, and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, difference. Don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Attention taxpayers. If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Our water heater broke down last month. It was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by CitizensUnited.org.
Matthews. And Joe Hakos, my co-host, will be off tonight, and he will be back on Monday. He had an event to attend to tonight, and we gave him the night off because he deserves this. He's up for an honor, Civilian of the Year, out there at the Air Force Base that he works at, and we think no other person I know that would deserve it more than our friend Joe. So he'll be back on Monday, and hopefully with a trophy or a plaque or whatever it is they get. I know in my day, as letters of commendation, which are great when it comes to promotions. So we wish him well. Okay, let's get into talking about last night's debate. I was somewhat disappointed personally by the performance by Ted Cruz, and I'll get more into that later as we actually start analyzing the content of the debate. But one of the things Cruz's, I think, his best words or sentences for the night actually came at the very beginning of the debate. And this is something you heard us talking about here at the Conservative Syndicate over the past couple of days as to how the Republican candidates should respond with the absence of Donald Trump, because we all know that Donald Trump is in the business of controlling the narrative, has been controlling the narrative, and has a very unique ability due to, as I call it, the Gruber theorem, the stupidity of the American voter, to recapture the narrative anytime he's on the verge of losing it. He'll usually go out and insult somebody or make some threat as, I'm not coming to a debate, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that. And he controls the narrative, recaptures the narrative, because then everybody wants to make a big deal about what he says he is going to or not going to do. And he's just been very good at that. You got to hand it. This guy is a master salesman. He knows how to garner the attention and use it to his advantage. So, that is what it is, and that is politics. That's really what it is. So, anyway, we were talking about how the candidates should respond, because we knew that the very first question, of course, was going to be about Trump's absence and what the candidates thought about it. And the way it was done was rather than going through each candidate and asking of them, each one of them, to give an introduction about themselves, they were allowed to give the introduction, and then that followed by a question. Then they move on to the next candidate who gave an introduction of themselves, and then they were asked their first question, that kind of thing. Megyn Kelly looked at Cruz and basically said, well, let's address the elephant in the room. Donald Trump, or the elephant not in the room, however you want to look at it. Donald Trump's not here, and what do you think that says? Well, Cruz's response, after thanking the Iowans, the people of Iowa, for the hospitality and the fact that he had visited all 99 counties in Iowa, and that his father had preached in their churches, and they welcomed his daughter and wife and all the good stuff. He says, now, secondly, let me say I'm a maniac, and everyone on this stage is stupid, fat, and ugly. And Ben, you're a terrible surgeon. Now that we've gotten the Donald Trump portion out of the way, I want to thank everyone here for showing the men and women of Iowa the respect to show up and make the case to the people of this state and the people of the country why each of us believe we would make the best commander-in-chief. So that was a decent response. But it did not capture what he should have said. By even alluding to Trump in any way, shape, form, or fashion, he basically validated Trump's contention that he is the show, and everything that he does, everything centers around him. And he tried to make a joke about it. It was a decent joke, but it wasn't really the way he should have handled it. The guy that handled it right was Marco Rubio. And Rubio came right out. He says, let's begin by being clear what this campaign is about. It's not about Donald Trump. He's an entertaining guy. He's the greatest show on earth. This campaign is about the greatest country in the world and a president who has systematically destroyed many of the things that made America special. That was the proper response. And Rubio nailed it. Cruz came close, but missed it. And this is something that I'm picking up with Ted Cruz. And that is that he misses these moments on the fly where he could really throw something back at his opponents or those accusing him or those attacking him. For instance, this is like during this debate, I saw the second and third time Cruz gaffed his responses to his detriment rather than to his advantage, meaning the questions were thrown at him and he was given the opportunity where he could have come back and made a very solid defense of his views or something that he has said in the past, and he missed it. The first one I'm going to talk about here is when he was dressed down by Donald Trump about the New York values. You remember in the last debate, Ted Cruz made reference to the fact that, in response to whether or not Donald Trump was a conservative or not, he made that response that, he's from New York and he has New York values. Now, those of us that have any political savvy at all knew what he was talking about. New York is a very liberal state. For crying out loud, you guys have Hillary Clinton. Just like out here in California, we got Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein. We have very liberal elected people. Michael Bloomberg, Jerry Brown out here in California, Andrew Cuomo, Tony Villagrosa, now Eric Garcetti. These are very liberal leaders, and they follow very liberal ideologies. And so we knew what he was talking about. But Trump was able to take that and turn it around and make Cruz look like he was basically sloughing off New Yorkers as people with no conscience and people with no patriotism, and this, that, and the other. And Cruz did not defend that. He did not come back, and he should have, and he didn't. And when he did come back, he came back with a brilliant response a day late. He came back, if you remember, he came back and said, I apologize for insulting, I apologize to New York for having all these liberal leaders, for these people that have just really made New York a bad place to live economically and have supported a president that's destroying the country. I mean, it was a great response a day late. A day late and $1 short. It had very little impact. Whereas had he been able to respond to Donald Trump's dressing down and come back and said, you're right, Donald. I didn't mean to attack the people in New York personally. So, I apologize. And then gone down that bullet point list that he had, pointing out why what the Democrats that have run New York have run the state into the ground, much like they have out here in California and places like Michigan and down in Georgia, all these places, Baltimore, all these places where liberals run the show, and the economy reflects their inability to understand what to do and to manage. Everything is about collectivism. Everything is about redistribution rather than building businesses and making it business friendly and all the other things that are associated with conservatism. So that was Cruz's first gaffe that I felt he missed. He had an opportunity. He could have shut Trump down. Instead, Trump shut him down. And he didn't catch it on the fly. He wasn't able to respond. Maybe having a photographic memory does that to you. Maybe you're not able to think on the fly like that. But anyway, that's what I would have done. And people that know me know that I have that ability, that people can say things to me and I can come right back with something right off the top of my head that will either make fun of it or be able to defend myself. The second time, it was this time. The idea that he had an opportunity here to do what Rubio did and just at the outset say, this debate and this election is not about Donald Trump, it's about America. Had he done that, I think it would have made much more of an impact than to be sarcastic and talk about the fact that Donald Trump insults everybody. We all know Donald Trump insults everybody. We all know that's how he runs his campaign. We all know that's how he has garnered his support. He feeds that what do you want to call it? That vitriol that's out there in the minds and the hearts of frustrated Americans everywhere, who think that just talking tough means enough. And at this point, I guess that's all they're grasping for. That at least somebody say something. Somebody say something, and Trump is saying it, and so they're grabbing on to him and saying, "Yeah, this is our guy. This is our guy," completely forgetting what he stands for in terms of his past history. Now, Donald Trump may have that intent in his heart. Yeah, America's broken. It needs to be made great again. But Trump has no experience doing this based on conservative principles and ideology. Everything Donald Trump has built has been running through the campaigns of more liberal candidates and elected officials. He's got a long list of all these Democrats he supported over the years. And yes, he has supported some Republicans. But he is in that way, the epitome of the insider. You know, the people like the Harriman banks, the people that bankrolled the Bushes into their wealth. You play both sides of the aisle. You give money to the liberals and you give money to the conservatives, and somebody wins, and in doing so, you get some kind of payback for it. Trump has told us this is what he does. He has told us this is why he's done it. This is not the way conservatives are supposed to do business. So the idea that he's going to come out and all of a sudden transform into some type of principle-based policy wonk in order to bring about a reformation of America, I don't think he's going to do that if he's elected. I think he's going to continue to do what he does. He's going to come in, he's going to bully people around, he's going to try to do everything by making deals. Well, that's why the Tea Party had risen up. That's why we gave the Senate and the House back to the Republican Party, because we were tired of the deal making. And we don't want any more deals. We want somebody to stand up and say enough is enough. We're not making any more deals. Not only are we not making any more deals, we're going to get rid of the deals that were made. That's what we're looking for, and Trump doesn't offer that. So Cruz missed that last night. His opening statement could have been much more direct to the point. I think Rubio scored the high points on that because Rubio went right for the jugular. This is not about Donald Trump. This is about America, and it's about a president that is systematically destroying it. That was the proper response. The third thing that Ted Cruz did last night, or the third gaffe, the second he did last night, but the third gaffe that I've noticed, is he tried to once again regurgitate his attack on the moderators. Now, we all know that these moderators, they ought to have all figured it out by now. These moderators are not objective. I don't care if they're Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, or any combination thereof. They're not objective. These are news personalities, not news reporters, news personalities who each one of them want to build their own celebrity and their own reputation in the world of media. So they're all out there for those gotcha moments. They're all out there trying to get everybody to say something stupid so that they can be the ones credited with making that person, or suckering that person in, setting that person up, and then springing the trap. So the idea that Cruz once again tried to do that, the way that, you could tell by the way the moderators were asking the questions, they were still trying to pit one candidate against the other, and Ted Cruz tried to address that again. This time he got booed. Because it's old hat. You should have just let it go. Should have just let it go, Ted. You should have just moved on and understand you were the guy in the crosshairs last night. They were coming after you because the guy they liked to come after before you was not there. So you were the target, and you walked right into their trap by trying to play do something that once you did, the first time you did it, it worked. It didn't work this time because it's old news. We all understand and agree that the moderators are biased, that they're out with their own agenda, and then whether it's to be an operative for the parties they represent or to build their own personality and celebrity and their own credibility with their own programmers and their editors and their directors and everything else, that's part of the game now. And you should have just dealt with that and not that. So what I'm getting at here is that Cruz missed and has missed several opportunities to respond on the fly to his advantage, and instead has responded to his detriment. So having said that, we're going to continue that, this discussion, this thread here, but we're going to go to our break, and when we come back, we're going to connect with Bob Cardoso over at Robert Cardoso Live, and then we'll talk about what Bob wants to talk about. Well, wait, I think he's our guest today, so we can talk about this. So stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed-rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Syndicate right here, live right now, coming to you coast to coast, nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, the Conservative Syndicate. We're going to tune in right now. We're going to call up our good buddy Bob over at Robert Cardoso Live right now and get him on the line here. His day to be on our show, so we'll get him tuned in to us right here, and we'll get into our topic with him during the day.
Hey, John, welcome aboard.
Hey, how you doing, Bob?
Hey, I'm doing good. Boy, you know what? You talk about an exciting time in politics, John. Holy mackerel. You know what? This morning they're talking about your good buddy Hillary Clinton being indicted. 22 of her emails were top secret at the highest level.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've been talking about this for a while, and I think what people really need to understand about the email situation with Hillary Clinton, this is first and foremost, if you understand this one concept regarding classified information, then everything falls into place, and all the rhetoric, all the spin, everything comes into clear view, crystal clear. Classified information is classified at the moment it is originated, not the markings, not anything else. Somebody is told something that's top secret, it immediately becomes classified information. It does not matter if it's marked. It does not matter how it's disseminated. The information itself is what makes it classified. So the claim by the Clinton camp that, none of this stuff was marked classified, when we just found out a few days ago, people on her staff were actually taking the classifications off so that they could send this to her private server. The SAP information, this top secret SAP.
Let me ask you this, John. Is this something that she just loses? She loses the election over, I'm assuming. But can she go to jail for this?
Oh, she certainly can. She certainly can. She can go down the same path. In fact, I'll share the story with you. I did it here in the show here. When I was in the Navy, I was what they call a anti-submarine warfare operator. And I had a secret clearance. And the information that we were given revolved around capabilities, tactics, and platforms in terms of how submarines were constructed and what they could do. This is all secret information. You couldn't even study the stuff you had to study it in a vault. You couldn't even, you couldn't take the stuff home and study it. You had to sit in a vault to have access to this stuff. And during my training, during my second phase of training, one of the guys in my unit snuck some information out of the vault on cue cards so that he could study in his bunk. And that information was found by the fire marshal that was coming through doing fire inspections. They come in every night at 11 o'clock, come through the barracks, make sure the trash cans are emptied and everything else. And they found these cards laying on his bed. He did 10 years in Leavenworth.
Wow.
Okay, and that was secret information. Now we're talking about top secret access stuff where only 2 to 3 people are even supposed to be given access to it. And this is passed through at least 7 email accounts into Hillary's server. So this is major stuff. This is stuff that locks people up and puts them away, yes.
Yeah, and the report that I saw in the Associated Press today said that there were at least 22 emails and numerous pages of them that they couldn't even say what they were about. They were so secret.
Right, and then when you get into the secret access part of this, I believe there's 3 to 7 of those emails at the highest level, meaning that information had to have been pulled off a secure server, declassified by taking the markings off of it to be transferred to a private server. So that means somebody in her staff, that should have been, stuff coming through that type of clearance should have been for her eyes only, period. Nobody else should.
Well, now the FBI is doing an active investigation. They're going to have to call her in at some point. Do you think that this is enough that she will lose the Iowa caucus to Bernie Sanders on Monday?
Well, I think that remains to be seen here because, you have to, the Gruber theorem is in play here, the stupidity of the American voters. So whether or not it plays out in Iowa remains to be seen. I think she's got more of a problem with the fact that Sanders is surging in popularity right now more than her issues with email. But I do believe that coming down the line here, when we start getting into the later caucuses in the middle of February, you start getting into like South Carolina and Nevada, by that time something's got to be coming down from the FBI because the FBI's in a very difficult situation right now. They either brush this thing under the carpet and lose all credibility as an agency, or they at least go to the DOJ and say, we recommend that she be indicted on these charges. At what point now it falls into the Obama camp, whether they're going to go along with it or not. Now, they may not. Obama may try to delay this thing until after he's out of office. But the point being, at that point, I believe it will then make its way into the court of public opinion. And that at that point in time, Hillary's got even more problems than she's got now. And we were talking yesterday about the distinct possibility that what we may be looking at is the first time in history that we have two brokered conventions from both parties to pick their candidates.
Now, listen, there is a chance, I'm thinking, that all of this could go on for a long, long time. The election could take place. She could be elected president and then impeached and imprisoned over this, right? After the presidency.
Yeah, if she is indeed indicted and tried for security breaches, she and anybody else involved, meaning Human Abedin, Cheryl Mills, Jake Sullivan, all these people who are in the mix here, every one of those people are up on the same charges.
Wow. Boy, what a mess. What a mess. But you know what? I got to tell you, and I'm an old son of a gun, but I got to tell you, this is probably the most exciting presidential season or the election season that I've ever witnessed. I think this is phenomenal.
Oh, there are parts of it that I would agree with you. There's parts of it where I'm just like, this is so cool because everything is being exposed to such a level of the corruption, the partisanship, the backroom deals, the campaigns, the money, all this stuff is coming out one way or another in one place or another. The sad part of it is that we're finding out that this has been going on for quite a while.
Yeah. And you know what? And you've actually said it a lot of times. You know, isn't it unfortunate? That's not unfortunate. It is horrible that our own government isn't on top of this, or if they are, that they just pull the wool over our eyes so we can't see what's going on within our own government. I am just absolutely incensed over this thing. You know what? Let's not talk about Hillary and Bernie. Let's talk about the debate last night. Did you happen to? Which one did you watch? Did you watch the Republican debate, or did you watch Trump raising money?
No, I watched the main debate later that came on later in the evening, the main one, because we were on the air when the undercard took place, which that to me is a waste of time anyway. I have a lot of respect for some of the people on the undercard. I like Rick Santorum. I like Mike Huckabee. There's things about Carly Fiorina that I like. Not a lot of things, but the things I do like, I like very much. Yeah. But these guys should be gone by now. And so I didn't see the importance of following anything they have to say. In fact, one of the indicators, one of the telltale signs here of desperation is that Rick Santorum and Mike Huckabee both showed up at Trump's rally.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't see the debate. I was just sick of it, the whole thing. Something that Trump said that actually hit a nerve with me, and that was, you know what a fiasco it is for somebody who's running, with 40% of the popular vote here, or Republican GOP polls, has to actually debate with people who have a negative poll and 1 or 2%. That's absolutely ridiculous. I'd like to have the top three guys up there and have them really debate what the heck's going on in the world. It really ought to be, Trump and Cruz and Rubio. Those are the only ones that actually should be on that stage. Although, you don't want to cut people out of there, but it seems to me that nobody else is going to actually get into this thing. And then the other thing that I thought was really cool, I think that Trump did and I expect you to tell me I'm wrong at some point. I think he absolutely did the right thing by shoving it back in Fox's face. And being insulting to him. Look at what they did to Cruz last night, for Pete's sake. So, it seems to me that it was a better thing to have this thing for the veterans. They raised over $6 million. You know what they didn't tell you is Donald Trump put in $1 million. His good buddies, there were 4 other people that put in $1 million apiece, and the rest of the $1 million was actually through donations. But you know what? He still did a doggone good thing. And 16 veterans organizations are going to share that $6 million.
Well, one of the things that people really need to understand about this particular thing, the veterans groups that Donald Trump was, raving about yesterday that he was supporting, and all this money was going to go to all these veterans organizations, most of them have said, we don't want the money. Most of them have come out and publicly said, we don't want this. They're upset that Trump, one, is using them politically. That's what they're saying, is you're using us to garner attention. And second, we're not really we think you should have shown up at the debate. See, there's some of the big groups out there are saying, no, we don't want your money. They've actually come out and said...
I actually saw an interview with the head of this coalition for all these veterans groups, and he did say that he didn't want the money. He didn't want to politicize this thing. It's hard for me to say to the veterans, don't take $6 million, but I guess it's a drop in the bucket compared to what they need and what's going on. And they shouldn't be politicizing it that way. And I can understand that the veterans organizations don't want to be singled out by one particular political, faction. So I understand that too. But I feel so, you and I have talked about that so often. I'm just absolutely horribly disappointed in our government and the way that they treat our vets.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I do have a couple of comments I would like to make about Cruz. I got to go to my commercial breaks on my side here. When I get back, a couple of things. Cruz disappointed me last night, and I want to point out why. Because I think he's missed some very good opportunities. He's gaffed him up pretty bad. So as soon as we get back from our commercials, we're right now on Robert Cardoso Live. We'll run our commercials, and then we'll be back in just a moment and finish up our segment with him. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate. I'm your host, John Matthews. Joe Hickles off for tonight. Be back on Monday with us. And what we want to do right now, let's get back in touch here with Bob Cardoso over at Robert Cardoso Live right now. We do this simulcast twice a week with us and him. And we had to take a break. We'll come back. And
I am Robert Cardoso. We're talking to John Matthews in the Conservative Syndicate. Hey, I'm sorry, John. Just trying to coordinate getting rid of my commercials and yours, too.
Oh, that's okay. I just try to feel the dead air until I hear your voice.
Okay. So listen, good buddy, you were going to talk about Ted Cruz. And, boy, he was taking some real heat last night from Megyn.
Well, you know, one of the things I like about Ted Cruz is he really is very organized in the sense of how he does things. Having a photographic memory helps, certainly. And I'm surprised he hasn't learned how to use that better to deflect the attacks. You had to go into the debate last night knowing with the absence of Trump that he was going to be next on the food chain. Neither Trump nor Cruz represent anything even close to what the Republican establishment wants. And Fox News has proven, if nothing else, that they're operatives for the GOP. So he had to know that they were going to come at him. And there's been several instances here where Cruz has been in a position to take these attacks and turn them back onto the moderators or his opponents and do it in a very sly way, and I believe he's missed it. I think maybe it's just because in my experience in radio, the time that I've been in radio, one of the things I get from a lot of people who listen to me is my ability to just come off the top of my head and say something when somebody throws something at me. I can come back with a good joke or something like that, that kind of thing. Yeah. And I guess I would expect something like that out of Cruz, who is 10 times smarter than I am, that kind of thing.
But, he has always done really well. It looked like, when he was doing all these meetings, these clashes and things, he does really, really well. And then to see him get a little tongue-tied is not usually what you would see. But I could see somebody hit his, Megyn Kelly hit his hot button because it looked like Fox decided that they wanted to persecute him since Trump wasn't there to do it to.
Well, for instance, last night, his best line of the night was actually his opening line, where he stood up there and, Megyn Kelly asked him about Trump. Trump's not here. We want to get a response. See, that he had to know the moderators were going to come at him and start back into their let's get you guys, fighting between yourselves kind of thing. Yeah. And his response, well, let me say that I'm a maniac and everyone on this stage is stupid, fat, and ugly. And Ben, you're a terrible surgeon. And now that we've gotten the Donald Trump portion out of the way, let me thank all the people coming here, taking the time to come. And he was talking to the other candidates on the stage. You showed up, and we're trying to show the American people who would be the best president. That was a decent response. It should have been more direct. Rubio was the one that nailed it. Rubio, when his opening statement was, let's begin by being clear what this campaign about. It's not about Donald Trump. See, that's the right response. Yeah. Cruz tried to be a little bit funny with it, and it half worked. I chuckled at it. Everybody laughed at it. But it was still kind of taking yourself down to the level of Donald Trump.
But you know what? And not just Fox, but primarily Fox, but all of the networks that have been hosting these debates, every one of them seems to be taking these in a direction away from getting the candidates to talk about policies and issues. They get them to talk about each other, and they poison they stir the pot, right? And it's the network's fault for doing that. They drive them in that direction, and I think that that's a disservice to the people that are actually watching those networks trying to learn something about the candidates.
Well, obviously, and that's the whole thing is that, and that was one of the other mistakes Cruz made. He tried to regurgitate his response to Megyn Kelly. You could tell they were trying to pit each other against each other again, and it worked the first time he did it. The first time he came back and said, well, look, you guys are just asking us questions about each other and you're trying to get us to fight and you're not doing us justice. That worked the first time. He tried to regurgitate that last night when he was being attacked, and it didn't work because the questions that were coming at him were of a different flavor than they were the first time. And he was being asked about his position on something and not what somebody else was thinking or what somebody else believed. And he tried to regurgitate this argument, and it didn't work. He actually got booed when he brought it up. So again, he missed it. Another opportunity the discretion would have been a better part of valor there, and just going ahead and they got to know. These people got to know by now. You're going to be targeted, whether it's Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. Anytime, these are not moderators. These are celebrity newscasters and pundits that are trying to build their own reputation at your expense. You should know that. And you should deal with it.
They're not even reporters. They're news readers. They don't even report the news. The old time reporters that we with Walter Cronkite and all of these the big guys that remember, they actually were very unbiased, reported facts, told us what the heck was going on. We could make our own decisions on what was going on. Now the networks, it's all about ratings, it's all about news, it's all about creating controversy, and it's not about telling us what we need to know.
Yeah, the big objective of the moderators last night was to paint every person on that stage as somebody who's a flip-flopper. Everything was, we have this tape of you saying this, and they'd play a tape, or we have this quote of you saying this, and now you're saying this. Aren't you really a flip-flopper? Aren't you really not the conservative you say you are? You're not the only guy that got the softball stuff last night was John Kasich. The questions they asked him, they might have well asked him what color his underwear was. Yeah, he got nothing that was hardcore. He got none of this stuff. Are you a flip flopper here? Are you a flip flopper there? You said this once and now you're saying this? He didn't get any of that stuff. And Jeb Bush was I just thought a total embarrassment. This guy's trying so hard to sound intelligent, and he fails every time he tries.
Well, he's one of the ones that need to be eliminated. I don't care how much money he spent or how famous his name is. He needs to get off that stage and let us listen to the people that might actually become president.
Yeah, his comment about Rubio. They got into the big discussion last night was about immigration, and the most telling thing Jeb Bush did last night when he was asked about supporting Marco Rubio's amnesty plan with the Gang of Eight. And Jeb Bush said, I supported it because Rubio asked me to. Now, if that is not a rhino, I don't know what is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like Mitch McConnell. Obama comes to McConnell or Boehner. Hey, I really need you to support this. Okay. That's the equivalent of it. It wasn't that he thought it was good or anything else. In politics, he goes on, in politics, this is what you do.
Yeah,
See, this is why politicians go back to their constituents and try to tell us that we don't know the process. When we come out and we say, why are you doing this? Well, you don't know the process. Well, you're not telling us the process. Apparently, the process is somebody comes to you and says, I need you to do this. And then you go to them when you need something, you say, I need you to do this. That's the process, and that's what people don't want. People don't want deals made anymore. They want stands made. They want, let's stand for something. Let's quit making deals. That, to me, is what's wrong with Trump. People haven't caught on to this. This guy thinks he's going to deal his way through all these problems, and that's just an extension of what the establishment's already doing.
Okay, hey, John, unfortunately, I have got to move along, but this was great. We got to continue this on Monday.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Just tell your people, visit my website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and we'll talk to you on Monday, I guess.
Sounds great, John. You take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, time for another break. We'll be right back. It's time for Edward's Notebook. We'll pay some bills, and we'll get into our second hour here. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
One of the major roles of government is to protect us from enemies both foreign and domestic. But now we need protection from federal government decisions. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, the Obama administration has positioned itself as a detriment to U.S. sovereignty and the physical safety of we the people. On one hand, despite a preponderance of evidence to the contrary, Obama has blamed gun ownership as a reason why people ranging from Muslims, illegal immigrants, and street thugs seek to kill or rob unarmed sovereign citizens. The president and other gun grabbers also ignore the fact that very few crimes against humanity are committed by law-abiding gun owners. To add insult to injury, Mr. Obama is trying to close Gitmo and has been releasing Islamic terrorists, most of whom go right back to their murderous ways of blowing up people, beheading others, abusing women and animals, as if that's not enough.
And the nice Muslim and the bad Muslim and the good Muslim and the middle Muslim and the high Muslim and the low Muslim and the Islam. I'm sick of it all!
Obama's fixation on fundamentally changing America with legions of illegal immigrants crossing into our republic poses yet another clear and present danger to America. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washing washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building.
As much as half.
That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Akos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Akos.
Hey, hour two right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Welcome back and glad you took the time to join in and listen to us tonight. Joe Hakos will be with us again on Monday. On Monday, he'll be back on Monday with us. He's attending an event tonight. As we said, he was nominated at his base where he works. He works at Air Force Base down there in Florida, nominated as Civilian Employee of the Year. And so we hope that he walks away with that award. Very deserving of a man. I know Joe works very hard at what he does, and he is somewhat of a perfectionist. So, and one of the few people in public service I know, myself coming from public service and knowing what a real public servant is about. So, he'll be back with us on Monday. Now, I want to get back to the debate here. As I said at the beginning of the show, there are aspects of this thing that I really just want to make some points about. I think I've already said pretty much I need to say in terms of Ted Cruz blowing it. I don't think Ted had the debate he could have had. He should have gone in there and known from the get-go that he was going to be the target. With Donald Trump not on the stage, Ted was next in line. He's on the food chain. And one of the things that is very indicative, and a lot of people go back and forth on this one way or the other, it is hard to determine who the GOP establishment hates more, Ted Cruz or Donald Trump. But one thing is sure, they don't like either one of them. And either one of them will throw a major wrench in the works of the GOP establishment. Now, what happens on the left remains to be seen also. There's some things playing out here in the Hillary camp that, God, I just can't imagine her being able to walk away from this. Only because there is an agency involved, the FBI, which would have to put its own reputation on the line. The FBI and the CIA and the Secret Service, they've all taken their own hits under the Obama administration, at times falling on their swords to protect their president. The Secret Service is having some real problems with scandals. Apparently, a lot of their secret agents or the Secret Service people can't control their liquor and have a tendency to want to party too much. But outside of that, you look at the FBI and the CIA. The CIA has been blamed for a lot of the things that have happened in the Middle East. They've been somewhat of a scapegoat in the Benghazi situation where we had the 4 Americans killed. If you would see the film, 13 Hours, there are some strong implications there that it was a CIA breakdown that allowed all this to come down the pipe. So the CIA's got its own problems. And then the FBI, of course, has always been kind of regarded by some as, big brother in some regards. When you get into things like covert operations and stuff like that, much like the CIA, there's issues there. And now if they allow themselves to be sequestered by this administration, and that's where it would be coming down. Hillary Clinton isn't pulling any strings at the FBI. This has to be something that has to be coming down the pipe from the White House. Hillary Clinton's no longer Secretary of State. The only thing she has at stake right now is her reputation, which has already been tainted. It has been tainted for at least the past 4 decades, perhaps even longer, but 4 decades that I've been watching the Clintons. And so there's a lot going on here that could pan out on the left. But getting back to the right, whereas on the left, the attacks are coming from somewhat covertly. We're not really sure where did this policy or strategy materialize to drip these emails out from the Clinton time as Secretary of State. It had to come from someplace on the left. Now, I'm not saying Barack Obama's personally involved in it, but I bet you his people are. I bet you Valerie Jarrett or David Axelrod off in the wings out there, still sitting out there in civvies, out there still doing undercover organizing work. Some of these people, because there is that fear from the Obama camp that his legacy might be injured. In some cases, I bet you some people think if Hillary gets in office, everything we've done will be undone. Not, of course, when you take into account all the things that are going on in Congress, Congress has no balls. There's nobody in Congress with balls. Nobody wants to stand up and do anything. So I don't know why that would be a threat to them if Hillary got in there. You know what Hillary would do if she was in the White House? Nothing. Her job would be to maintain the status quo. And that's what the Republican Party is doing right now. So they would get along just great. But I think there are those in the Obama camp that think that by tainting or hurting or bringing into question the quote-unquote accomplishments of Barack Obama during his 8 years in office would hurt him in the international theater. Because as I've contended on this show and will continue to contend, because I firmly believe that's where Obama's going next. And so we're going to talk about that when we get back. We got to go to a break here. This is our short segment. We'll be back in just a minute. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. My co-host Joe Hakos will be back on Monday, taking the night off, and I want to get into a deeper discussion here about the debate last night. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but my initial, if somebody was to ask me right after the debate last night, and I thought about it, rolled it over in my head during the course of the evening, and just really kind of came to the same conclusion here. That, to me, the winner of last night's debate was actually Rand Paul. If I had to pick a winner, I would have picked Rand Paul. Because Paul did something that I think the other candidates are not too good at doing. He was able to turn statements and policy positions and everything else back into the face of the candidates when things were brought to his attention.
He was, of course, the debate was set up that way. The debate was set up to pit these candidates against each other rather than expounding on their own qualifications or their own policies or their own ideology or whatever. It was more what the other guy said. And then the moderators also then played the flip-flop routine, like, well, Senator, you said this, or Senator, you said that, and now you're saying this, and we have this video here, and we have this quote here, and that kind of thing. And Rand Paul was very good at just deflecting things right back. And so I think overall I would give it to him. Not that it changed my views on him in terms of his ideology. I don't agree with a lot of Rand Paul's policies. I only half agree with his ideology. I love his fiscal conservatism, and I despise his social liberalism. So having said all that, as I said, Cruz especially should have known going into the debate last night that he was going to be put in the crosshairs. And I don't think he gave that enough credence or enough consideration in his responses to several of the things that were thrown at him. And as I said, I think he had some brilliant opportunities, or some very timely opportunities, to take some of the questions that were obviously put before him with a tone of being attacked or being called a hypocrite, and not be able to turn those things around. The exchange that took place between him and Rubio and Jeb Bush on immigration was very telling. And as I said, in my opinion, Jeb Bush completely revealed who he was last night. If there was any doubt in anybody's mind whether Jeb Bush is the conservative that he says he is, this is I'm getting to that point. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. This is what really just jerks my chain more than anything, is that these people are being portrayed by the media as conservatives. Fox News is portraying them as conservatives. The media is portraying them as conservatives, and they're portraying themselves as conservatives when none of those things are actually true. But the question, the exchange in immigration, when Jeb Bush was asked why he supported Marco Rubio's Gang of Eight amnesty bill, which Rubio walked away from when it turned out to be very unpopular, and he was raked over the coals for that, and rightfully so. But Jeb Bush said, well, I did it because he asked me to do it. And basically, he asked me for a favor. He asked me to support something, not saying, and he never clarified if he was against it to begin with. He didn't say, well, I'm really not for it, but, I wasn't in office at the time. And, it was a political favor. He asked me to do something, and yeah, I chose to do it. But Jeb Bush has his own amnesty plan. And so the idea here is that what we're talking about here is the fact that these questions, this discussion on immigration, I thought was just very telling. Jeb Bush revealed who he was. He is a man who will do political favors. And that is exactly what we real conservatives are against. Ted Cruz on the other side, yeah, it looks like, I think the evidence is there that Ted Cruz every now and then does something politically motivated, totally motivated by politics. His stance on why he introduced that 32 or 38 word amendment to Rubio's amnesty bill was it because he wanted to put an amendment in there that Rubio would shut down. And in doing so, he said this would show that Rubio was hell-bent on providing amnesty, and not what he was saying was that he was trying to reform immigration laws and provide a path to those people who qualify for it and this, that, and the other. And Ted Cruz was saying, well, I'll just throw this amendment in there and it says, but you can, okay, well, we'll let you stay in the country, but you cannot become citizens. And to see what Rubio would do with it. But by then, Rubio had walked away from it because it was politically unpopular. So they were all guilty of something. And the moderators played very well into that and showed all three of them, Rubio, Jeb Bush, and Cruz, to be less than honest about what they were actually doing or what they actually believed and what they're out there touting on the campaign trail right now. Probably the closest thing to an honest discussion on policy. And unfortunately, it was geared or was worded in such a way of, I'll give you an opportunity to slam your opponent here, rather than just say, you said this and you said that, and and then ask them to respond. What they did do, but it was the tone and the wording. It was to deliberately try to get them arguing amongst themselves, which they did to some degree. But Cruz blew his chance to really deal with that. He handled it probably, I guess, at this point as well as he was going to be able to handle it. But I guess my thing with him is it doesn't appear to me that he went in with the foresight of knowing that he was next in line to be targeted and be able to take them down. Because if Trump and Cruz both lose supporters in the caucus in Iowa, guess who picks those up? Rubio picks them up. And one of the things we're going to do on Monday, I'm going to share with you how caucuses actually work. And you'll see how strategies like this can actually work to somebody's favor. Now, I'll give you, we mentioned it here in the show several times. I'll mention it again. Back in, I believe it was 2012, the 2012 election, Mitt Romney was leading in the Iowa polls. And everybody thought, slam dunk kind of thing, much like what's going on now. Trump slam dunk. Trump's going to take Iowa, which I'm going to get into that in just a moment also. But Rick Santorum, who was actually down, I think, at like 2 or 3% going into the Iowa caucus in 2012, ended up winning Iowa. Now, he didn't win the nomination, but he turned things around because you can do that with delegates. See, delegates get together, but you're allowed to pitch your snake oil at them. You're allowed to stand before these people and try to convince them to sway your vote towards them. Very much like what the Electoral College actually can do. They have the same thing in Electoral College. If push comes to shove, you can literally petition the Electoral College to go against the popular vote. That's how John Kennedy won his election back when he ran against Nixon. One of the districts in Chicago where the electoral votes were at in Chicago, they were able to sway 2 or 3 people to go with Kennedy. And it ended up being enough to push him over Richard Nixon. Now, so when we talk about this, about how they handled them, hit my microphone here. When I talk here about how these candidates handled the debate last night, Rubio, in my opinion, Cruz, and of course Bush, just completely blew it. John Kasich, I don't think I've seen a more irrelevant person on this stage at this level of the debates than John Kasich. Lindsey Graham certainly was king of the second tier, but John Kasich is very closely matched to Lindsey Graham. Whereas Lindsey Graham is just an obnoxious neocon, John Kasich is just like somebody's teddy bear. You just wind him up and he just recites whatever it is he was programmed to say. Now, where else do I want to go with this? I had several thoughts here. Oh, I know what I wanted to do. I wanted to get to and address, I think, the issue of Donald Trump not being there in terms of what this means overall, not only in Iowa, but in the upcoming caucuses, and hopefully, by the time this whole process is over and we have whoever it is we have left standing, I'm hoping, in my camp, hoping that's Ted Cruz. But I don't know now. And I've never really solidified my views of saying, okay, one is going to win over the other. At this point, I still don't know who's going to win and how it's going to come down, because we might just end up with a brokered convention on the Republican side and the Democrat side. So anything can happen here. But this is what I said yesterday while we were talking about the debate. I said, everybody was thinking or wondering yesterday, what would Trump's absence mean in terms of the Republican debate and the way the race is shaping up? And I said, it's going to depend. You're going to tell the preliminary reading on whether Trump really has the influence that he has, if he really is the show, is going to be the viewership of the debate itself. Trump isn't there. He's going to hold another venue off to the side, raise money for the veterans. People were being told to boycott the Fox debate. And if they were able to pull that off, if the debate last night had only garnered an audience the size of something at MSNBC or CNN or something like that, then it would prove or validate that Donald Trump is the show. And we would just have to say, okay, now you just got to figure out how to work with that or around it, depending on where you're at in terms of being a supporter of Trump or a supporter of one of the other candidates. So that has to be dealt with that way, and the campaigns would have to deal with it. But it turns out, as I predicted, that the audience for the Fox News debate last night lost very little in terms of audience. In fact, it was the second largest audience they've had for a debate. And they trumped everything, if I can use that phrase. They trumped MSNBC and CNN, who were covering the Trump rally for the veterans, just buried them. The numbers came in, and it was 12.5 million viewers, with 3.5 million amongst the news demo of 25 to 54 age bracket. Think about that. That means that a majority of the people watching the debate last night were younger than 25 or older than 54. Now, I don't know what that tells you. I don't know. I know what it tells me, because once I saw those numbers, I began to look at some other things, and so I'm breaking this down for you here. It says that it was a 48% drop from the record-breaking 24 million viewers from the first GOP debate. You'll remember that back in September, 24 million viewers for the first GOP debate. But it was the second highest turnout for the debates and the second highest rated telecast for Fox News. The first highest rated telecast was, of course, the 24 million back in September. This 12.5 million last night, which was half, almost half, was still their second largest audience since the last debate, or the second in history, I'm sorry. Their second highest rated telecast at Fox News Channel. So Fox News didn't suffer that much, if any. Okay, their audience was still there. Now, when you compare that to CNN and MSNBC, who were covering the Trump stuff, 1.7 million viewers at CNN and 1 million at MSNBC, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the number of people that were listening to the Fox News debate after all the Trump mania, after all the calls for boycott, after all the rhetoric from Trump that he was the show, that Fox News was going to lose revenue because he wasn't going to be there, and all these things were going to happen. It was going to be just a dark day in Fox News because he wasn't on the stage. That's not true. The viewership validates what we have been contending. This Trump support may not be everything that everybody's making it out to be. And I'm going to explain to you why. Some of the other things I found when we get back. It's time right now for Moments of Madness. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Hey, on Moments of Madness. As we approach the first primary caucuses in February, the current populist tsunami that has given rise and sustenance to the campaigns of potential presidential candidates Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders in this year's general election cycle has the entire political establishment on both sides of Washington, D.C. recklessly panicking to recapture the narrative they've effectively employed in the siege of the American electorate that began in earnest with FDR. It is now more than mere speculation that the populist movement that birthed the Tea Party, and not the partisan ideologies that have determined the outcomes of election cycles past, just might light the fuse that propels Trump and Sanders into the June runoff that will most certainly determine the direction of our nation for decades, perhaps even determine the path of America's ultimate destiny in regard to its survival as a republic, or relegate us to a symbolic placard at the table of European socialist New World Order. So rattled are the GOP elites and their minions, they have abandoned any past attempts to at least appear civil, plotting instead in an unholy alliance with the media by concocting gotcha moments that turn minor gaffes or circumstances of decades past into a mountain of sin that portrays their opponents as villains while they pretend to chart the high moral ground. Jeb exclamation point Bush claims to be so taken back by the intensity of the anger of the voters, he is peppering his attacks against Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and even Marco Rubio by trotting out his family like Ward, June, and Wally Cleaver to assure us the Beeve is actually a good kid. It's that Eddie Haskell character, also known as Donald Trump, that is up to mischief. Blowhard Lindsey Graham, the GOP's bottom-dwelling asterisk candidate, provides perhaps the best reason for adopting Obama's gun safety measures by floating the analogy electing Donald Trump or Ted Cruz is the equivalent of putting a gun to our head. Even conservative banner bearers like Jonah Goldberg at National Review and Thomas Sowell at Town Hall Daily, along with a list of other supposed conservative thinkers, have joined the anti-Trump mantra, agreeing that to elect the likes of Donald Trump and even in some cases Ted Cruz is to kill conservatism as it exists today. Here's the madness. Whereas the Democrat Party's resistance to Sanders is merely show, they will embrace Sanders if they have to. The GOP actually has it right about Trump. Though Trump accurately articulates the tone and frustration of a disenfranchised electorate that resides in both the left and right, the fact he is saying the right thing does not mean he has the right solutions, nor does it mean he means what he says. If we've learned anything from the near 8 years Obama and his alliance with the GOP have conspired to destroy our government, it is politicians saying in front of the cameras what we want to hear and do what they want with their pens and phones. It is, however, that acknowledgement that exposes the problem. It's not that the GOP elites have it wrong about Trump. It's that they either haven't figured out or are unwilling to do the right thing the right way to stop him, in the same way they've refused to stop Obama. By that, I mean, if they're so concerned about preserving the conservative brand, why not support the conservatives running? There are a few running, you know. It's understandable why Barbara Bush supports her son. But what credibility does she, her husband, or sons have when she contends things like those displaced by Hurricane Katrina actually benefited from it by getting better housing from government, housing that was paid for on the taxpayer dime? Would not of conservatives suggesting relaxing government regulations and reducing taxes better serve those communities to rebuild on their own? Would not that stance better articulate conservatism? Why didn't her son George do that instead of further enslaving them to government? And who better to respond to another situation like that than someone like Ted Cruz, Rick Santorum, or Mike Huckabee? Lindsey Graham, of course, is his own brand of stupid. But rather than respond in bitterness to an electorate that recognizes he is as irrelevant as he is stupid, why not articulate the message conservatism does not compromise its values in order to gain popularity, but rather stands firm on the premise American exceptionalism is a result of equal opportunity offered and achieved in a civil society through personal responsibility and accountability in spite of obstacles like racism and poverty. Could not Cruz, Santorum, or Huckabee better articulate this message? How about Jonah Goldberg at National Review? Jonah is the Republican token symbol for the GOP, assigned to solicit the Jewish community who presently by and large support leftists at the polls who actually hate Israel in exchange for being left off the left's redistribution rolls. Isn't hatred for Israel representative of Obama's current foreign policy? Why not tout the conservatism of Ted Cruz, Rick Santorum, or Mike Huckabee, all of whom highly respect Benjamin Netanyahu, rather than discount him as a source of the problem in the Middle East? When you consider polls such as Reuters that indicate a vast number of folks who have never voted are saying they will vote for this time for Trump, or those who are returning to the voting booth after a 10-year or more absence because they believe Trump gets them, or the many Democrats who are registering Republicans so they can vote for Trump, that in and of itself explains his popularity. It's not his ideology, it's his voice. Ideology means very little if you believe it is irrelevant in shaping policy. We have very much returned to almost an infant state as a republic, where representation translates to listen to what we are saying more than this is how we want it done or we will revolt. We don't need to pander to demographics created by government for government. We just need one that represents the values of our republic and governs accordingly. Then again, perhaps this is the very problem that faces the GOP and thus their vitriol-fueled allegiance against the populism of Trump. Perhaps it is really their fear of being exposed as non-conservatives should they be forced to govern under the tenure of a true conservative like Ted Cruz. The likes of Mitch McConnell, John McCain, and Lindsey Graham could no longer hide behind their show votes. They would stand exposed in the public square before being exiled to wherever pretenders end up wandering like Navin R. Johnson with his thermos and velvet-covered chair. Now that's a thought that should motivate any real American to want to vote. This is John Matthews, for moments of madness.
Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
I'm your host, John Matthews, and Joe Hakos, my co-host, will be back on Monday. I want to finish up this thing with the debate last night because I do want to cover a little bit or talk a little bit about Hillary Clinton's email situation. And one of the things I've been saying here, and there was just a gut check on me as we were talking about the debate over the last couple of days and Trump's refusal to attend the debate because Megyn Kelly was still being or was chosen as one of the moderators. We believe that was smoke. That was smoke. Our contention was Donald Trump didn't want to be asked about his past ideology and his past historical actions that are very liberal-leaning. He has supported a lot of liberal candidates, has openly supported them, openly talked about supporting them for his own business gain. Now, whatever his motivation for doing that is irrelevant in the fact that he has done it. And now all of a sudden he's supposed to be this magically transformed individual from the bowels of liberalism to the heights of conservatism. And we just said, now the history doesn't match. And unfortunately, too many of us on our side of the aisle that claim the conservative mantle are not doing their job in vetting Donald Trump, or he wouldn't be this popular if you really knew his past or really believed his past. Let me put it that way. But we said yesterday that the tell signs as to whether Donald Trump is the real deal and whether he really is just going to walk away with this nomination, just snowballing everybody else, would be the turnout for the debate last night. And it turns out that it was a very good turnout for the debate. Didn't do a whole lot of damage to Fox News outside of just the rhetoric that's going to continue to float by the true believers out there. I'm not a fan of Fox News. I don't like them. I think they're as biased as any other news network. But that's not the point. The point is that the call for boycotts and everything else didn't work. The debate went on. Wasn't the best debate. Some of the candidates flubbed it big time. So what? That's not the issue here. What we were talking about was gauging the crowd, gauging the size of the audience. Were people still interested enough in the debate and the other candidates to tune in? And they were. 12.5 million viewers, the second highest rated telecast Fox News Channel has had in its 20-year history. The only one rated higher than that was the very first debate they held in September, where they did double that, 24 million viewers. Okay, CNN had 1.7 million covering Trump. MSNBC had 1 million covering Trump. Okay, not a big deal. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean that Trump really doesn't have any support? I don't know if that's what it means per se. What it indicates to me is that there are still a lot of people out there who have not made up their minds as to who they're going to vote for. And lo and behold, I get on the internet this morning, And I pull up this article by a gentleman named Jay Newton. He apparently is with some kind of organization, maybe his own blog site, I'm not really sure, called Small Time. Obviously not very big, probably equivalent to what we are here. You know, it probably has some following, but not the size of a Rush Limbaugh or Mark Levin or somebody like that. So I want to read part of this article to you because this is what I believe is actually going on at these Trump rallies. Now, Joe, my co-host, was talking to us yesterday, and he was sending me stuff during the broadcast yesterday that the rally that Donald Trump held at the university out there in Des Moines, let's see, where is it at here? What was the name of that? The Drake University in Des Moines. Had the room that he had rented held about 700 people. And what they did was they let people overbook. And Joe was saying the rally he attended, the Trump rally he attended a couple of weeks ago, was the same type of thing. The room itself was rather small, and then they overbook. And so you got people standing outside, you know, trying to get in. And, of course, they photographed this. And they put it out there. Look at this, standing room only. All these people standing and waiting to get into Donald Trump rally. Now, unless somebody's photoshopping things, we know that there have been some rallies where Trump has packed a pretty big room, 30,000 in those number ranges. But we're talking about Iowa right now. We're talking about the Iowa caucus. And we're talking about, just the fact that what we're saying here is there was a very small, relatively speaking, very small turnout. 700 people in a room is probably about the size you see at a Hillary Clinton rally. And so, but they tried, and Trump and everybody tried to dress it up as being, well, we did so much. We organized this thing in less than 48 hours, and we pulled all these people in. And boy, Fox News is going to be really sorry that they did what they did to me, that they didn't bow to my demands, and this, that, and the other. Well, Jay Newton over Small Time is telling us that he was at this Trump rally. He is with the press. He said normally people in press get put behind curtains. But he said he just chose, I'm just going to go out and wander around. And rather than, do this for a press, like press people normally do, cameras and everything else, I'm just going to go sit amongst people and see what happens. So I'm going to read to you what he wrote here, because I think this is more telling. This is a more accurate portrayal, and why I don't believe Donald Trump is doing as well as everybody is equating to the popularity polls. Popularity polls or favorability polls are different than who are you going to vote for. Donald Trump may be leading in favorability polls, but he can't translate those into actual votes. If all those people out there that say they're going to vote for the first time or haven't voted for years and now going to vote for Donald Trump vote, well, that's fine and dandy. But what about the ones that are showing up at the rallies that are not going to vote for Donald Trump because they haven't made their mind up? Let me get back to Jay's article here. Trump or no Trump, rating drops are inevitable. The candidates, I'm reading off the wrong, okay. Donald Trump. The name of the article that Jay Newton wrote at Small Time, Donald Trump doesn't win in cheap seats of rally, meaning he went and found seats in this rally of 700 people that was supposed to be sold out, standing room only, with people standing outside. There were still empty seats inside this 700-seat room that the Trump campaign rented for this rally. He says most of the time reporters are kept quarantined from Donald Trump's crowds. His anti-debate, pro-veteran rally at Drake University in Des Moines on Thursday night was no exception. The press was placed in a large ballroom behind the auditorium with the image of the rally piped in on a massive television. For all intents and purposes, we could have been covering the rally from home. But just as the program began, I wandered out of the room and found stairs to the balcony. There were empty seats, so I sat amidst the crowd and decided to watch the event with them. I interviewed 6 people closest to me. Here's what I learned. Not one of them was likely to caucus for Trump on Monday in the Iowa caucus. And he goes on to explain why these people were there. A veteran was there because he was asked to go, because Trump was raising money for a veteran organization, so somebody in an organization asked him to go as a representative of veterans. There was another man, a business partner. He was on a trip. He was on a business trip, and he said, "Hey, why not go look?" He says he likes the fact that Trump isn't politically correct, but right now he's torn between Trump and Marco Rubio. Danielle Day, a marketing senior at Drake, attends Drake University. She says, "I like Rubio's tax plan, and I'm torn between Rubio and Ted Cruz." The point being is that not everybody that thinks Trump is a great guy and doing and saying the right thing actually may end up voting for him. So that is something to take into consideration with all the rhetoric and all the rancor about how effective Trump is and how it's his show. He's running the show. He's determining the outcome just because he's such a fantastic guy. So think about that. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll continue right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you've been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. And we're
back. Listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I want to just remind everybody you can pick up this archive or any of our archives out at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. Just go out there. Feel free to do with them as you wish. Download them, share them, whatever you want to do with them. That's what they're there for. theconservativesyndicate.net. We're going to tie up the loose ends here, talking about the debate last night. I'm probably not going to get to the Hillary stuff till Monday, but that just as well. We got the weekend coming up. Who knows what's going to break loose over the weekend? The way things are snowballing for her right now, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe by Monday she will have left the country. You know, who knows? But anyway, back to this thing. Well, the contention, my contention has been, since the day that Trump announced he was not going to attend the GOP debate that took place last night, is that it really wasn't going to be that much of a detriment in terms of the electorate itself, in terms of maybe people out there trying to determine who it is they were going to vote for. Obviously, Trump has his supporters, much like some of the other candidates have theirs. Bernie Sanders has his demographic. Hillary Clinton has her demographic. Donald Trump has his demographic. And Donald Trump, to his credit, has ignited excitement in some people who have come out and said, you know, I've never voted before, but I'm going to vote now. Or people that said, you know, I've stayed away from the polls, but I'm going to come back now. That may be great. If that equates into a number big enough to give Trump the nomination, then so be it. That is the process. If it doesn't, though, as I'm contending, I don't know that those who normally participate in the voting process have actually made a decision who they're going to vote for. A large segment of them. Now, I'm offering the evidence that I have here. This blog that came out from Jay, let's see, what was his name again here? I was scrolling through the notes here. Jay Newton at Small Time attended the rally, the Trump rally yesterday in Des Moines at Drake University. 700 people, 700 seats in the room, was not filled, contrary to what Trump was telling everybody, what the media was trying to say. Apparently it was not filled. It was not standing room only. He found a seat. He's a press report guy or press guy, went out and sat in the seats and interviewed 6 of the people sitting around him. And we mentioned here that we had a guy, one of a gentleman who was the name of an Iowa group, Atheists or Free Thinkers. Well, he was for Bernie Sanders. He's just there because he wanted to see what's going on. We talked about the veterans that were there because they were asked by the veterans groups that are supposedly supposed to receive some of the money that Trump garnered yesterday. They were asked to attend, so they did. We were talking about Gary Wassenack, a businessman. He was on a sales trip and thought, hey, I'll go check it out. Danielle Day, she said, I like Trump's rhetoric, but I am torn between Rubio and Cruz. We have another gentleman here. Who was the other one guy here? That he was talking about. Oh, he was a student. Okay, yeah, here we go. Logan Reisinger, 18 years old. Okay, he's going to be a finance major at the college. He's a finance major at the college, Drake University. And he said, I'd love to caucus for Donald Trump. I love him. But he screwed up his paperwork to try to get registered as a caucus member, a delegate. There you go. There's today's education process. He screwed up the paperwork. And also, he has a class on Monday night. So he doesn't really know if he's even going to be able to make it to the caucus. See, I told you, these younger generation people, if they have other things going on, taking the time to get out and vote or go to a caucus is not number one thing on their list. So Trump may have the favorability poll numbers. He may have control of the narrative. But I think we need to, just as we need to understand that a lot of people are following him blindly, at least because of what he's saying, there's a big number of people also out there that are just following to find out what's going on. Some of them for entertainment. Some of them are just kind of like, well, let's see. I haven't made my mind up yet. So nothing in this thing is set in stone. And Donald Trump is not a slam dunk any more than Hillary Clinton is a slam dunk at this point in time. Anything can happen here. And I still believe that with everything in such an uproar, whether Trump or Cruz come out number one in Iowa and the next 3 caucuses that take shape here, I'm not sure how it's going to break down. I mean, I think in New Hampshire, for crying out loud, John Kasich has double-digit numbers. John Kasich in New Hampshire. What a bunch of idiots up there. If we're going to talk about the stupidity of the American voter, here's our prime example right there. But the point being is that anything can happen here. People have the right to be stupid. People have the right to be wrong. Whatever. But we don't know at this point in time what's coming down the pipe here. So don't get all flustered. I was flustered up until this idea came to me yesterday. My gut check kicked in and went, John, don't get all panicky here. There's a whole lot of things that got to take place before it's time to, run up the white flag. So that's where we're at. That's what we're, so just let's wait and see how this thing plays out. My point is Donald Trump isn't running away with this thing like people say he is. And it could be anybody's ball game at this point. The Iowa caucus on the Republican side very seldom determines who the nominee is going to be. I think the Democrats are only batting like 500. 500 half the time, the person who wins the caucus wins the nomination. Half the time they don't. So it's anybody's ball game here, and it's too early to push the panic button. Of course, the only people that are pushing the panic button are the establishment types that thought this was all going to be a shoo-in. We were going to have a Clinton-Bush face-off, and it was going to all be slam dunk. There would be no Bernie Sanders or no Donald Trump. Ted Cruz would be relegated to the right-wing extremist trash bin a month into the race and everything else, and it would just be Jeb Bush with all his money and Hillary Clinton with all her money, Jeb Bush with all his interests and Hillary Clinton with all her interests, and it was going to be 6 of one, half a dozen another. The voters would stay home, and the person that garnered enough between the stupid people that go out and vote for either one of these two would be the winner. And we'd continue down the road of destruction as we're headed right now, should something not turn around and make this thing change its course and direction. So, having said all that, we're up at the end of the show here. I want to remind everybody that you can check us out on our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. You can pick up all our archives. You can catch our blogs. There's a whole bunch of things out there. You can find out about all our panel members. We have 5 or 6 really good panel members that feed into our system here, into our dialogue for your purposes, so that we can educate, inform, and engage you, our listening audience. And we'll be back on Monday at 3 p.m. out here on the West Coast, 6 p.m. out on the East Coast. And we wait to see what happens over the weekend, because the weekends these days are just exciting. They're exciting to see what's coming down. So God bless you all. And since this is Friday, we'll close our show out the way we normally do, with Raise 'Em Up from the movie War Room. God bless you all. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Guide me to who you want me to help. Raise up more that will call upon your name. Raise up those that love you and seek you and trust you. Raise them up, Lord. Raise them up. Lord, we need a generation of believers who are not ashamed of the gospel. We need an army of believers, Lord, that hate to be lukewarm and will stand on your word above all else. Raise them up, Lord. Raise them up. I pray for unity among those that love you. I pray that you open their eyes so that they can see your truth, Lord. I pray for your hand of protection and guidance. Raise up a generation, Lord, that will take light into this world, that will not compromise when under pressure, that will not cower, Lord, when others fall away. Raise them up, Lord, that they will proclaim that there is salvation in the name of Jesus Christ. Raise up warriors, Lord, who will fight on their knees, who will worship you with their whole hearts, Lord. Lord, call us to battle, that we may proclaim you King of Kings and Lord of Lords. I pray these things with all my heart. Raise them up, Lord, raise them up.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.